What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to talk about some key levels to watch for as we're about to see some data coming out, which could cause some volatility. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or use my QR code right here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of Nvidia. Deposits $10,000 to get $300 worth of the stock, or deposits $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia. You're also going to qualify for a 3.6% APY base rate plus a 4.5% APY extra for 3 months, making the total of an 8.1% APY. The offer ends very soon, so please check out my link down below to sign up or use this QR code right here. The offer ends in less than 2 weeks from now. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So I just wanted to mention that this morning the market has rallied. We've seen some upside on SPY, the QQQ, and many other tickers, but we're also testing some resistance, and we have not broken structure to really be super bullish, right? SPY has not broken and held 685 yet. We're still in this chop zone technically. We also have not lost any major support. We're still stuck in the middle. So be very mindful of that for SPY and the QQQ. We've been trying to push so far, but there's no sign of a true break yet until we get confirmation. So we're going to be very unbiased when it comes to playing this and kind of like analyzing the way in which this is going to move. And we have some data that's going to be affecting things. So there's some bullish data that came out. The ADP employment change was a loss of 32,000 jobs. This is for the month of November. And if anything, that is below expectations. We're expecting 10 to 15,000 to be the gain. Instead, we have a loss of 32,000. So why is this bullish? Because now we're seeing increased probability with the Fed cutting. The jobs numbers are weaker. Now there's an 88.8% chance we get a cut for December. Besides that, keep in mind that today at 9:15 a.m. we have the industrial and manufacturing production numbers coming out. This is not going to be as serious. Then at 9:45 a.m. we have the S&P Global Composites and Services PMI report. I think this will be a lot more impactful. And then 10 o'clock a.m. is when we have the ISM services data. This may cause a big move because the services sector is very, very profound for the U.S. economy. I'm going to be watching to see how the services business activity, employment, and prices all are looking. So I expect some volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. once we get all this data. So expect a big move 15 and 30 minutes after the stock market opens. So watch for that very closely. Besides that, we had some earnings that came out. We had Macy's and Dollar Tree announce their earnings. Macy's did very, very well. They had net income that was quite decent of $11 million, and 4 cents per share was their EPS. Not too bad. Other analysts were expecting a loss of 13 cents. So that was some good news. They actually were more profitable. And then they also saw some decent net sales. So overall, good earnings from them. And we're going to see how it goes moving forward. But they ended up beating expectations. And I think they also had decent guidance. So good job by Macy's. I think the share price is still flat despite that. However, Dollar Tree ended up raising its full year profit outlook. They had decent earnings overall. Good job from them. And that's why the share price is up. So what's happening with the charts? Here's the thing. So we have a lot of services and manufacturing numbers coming out today, 15 and 30 minutes after the stock market opens. Now, even if SPY tries to go a little higher, I just want to warn you guys that there is a bearish divergence forming, and that does make me a little bit more apprehensive. Also, like I said before, we touched 685 back in the end of October and we rejected. Then in mid-November, we touched 685 and rejected. So it's a tough resistance. If we get good news, if the market wants to rally, I want to see us break 685. If we could hold 685 and close above it, there's a good chance we could attempt to go higher and we could try to invalidate the short position. I was talking about this for a while. But if we're bearish, you want to see us actually fail around 685, just like how we did 2 times before, and then turn back down towards 678. If that fails us, we're looking for 675 or below. And then we could be forming, the inverse head and shoulders, the left shoulder, head and right shoulder we were talking about. That scenario still exists. So I'm going to be very unbiased. I'm going to be in the middle. And let me just say this, we're waiting on this data that's coming out today, 15 and 30 minutes after the stock market opens at 9:45 and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as of right now, we're attempting to go higher, but SPY is still struggling to break past 685. And even if we go a little higher, there is still a risk of rejection that still exists because we have not broken 685. So if we break 685, yes, we will be bullish. We could turn bullish. As of right now, there's still a risk of rejection looking at the current setup, but we will see just to be safe. So be very, very unbiased, and we'll see how it goes. On the QQQ, we're pushing, which is great. However, keep in mind that back in early November, we touched 625 and rejected. We bounced a bit in mid-November to 625 and rejected. Now we're testing 625. If we break 625 and we hold it, we could be looking for 630 next to fill this gap. But if we're bearish, you're going to see us basically reject right here near 625. If we end up losing 616, we could be turning back down towards below 610. We're going to see if we bounce off that or not to form an inverse head and shoulders. However, with the rising wedge right here, we are so far, struggling to break past 625, and there is a risk of us potentially turning down. Watch 625. Can we break this and turn bullish, or do we end up rejecting? If we get that rejection, we could still turn down on the QQQ to form that right shoulder. Do not rule that out. Be very, very unbiased. On the Russell 2000, we're trying to bounce a little bit, but there's two gaps, just one above and one below. We're going to see if we break 247 to be bullish, or if we reject and fill the gap to 245. We could go either way, but just keep in mind that there is a risk of us kind of like pushing for 247, and we'll see if we reject back down or not. ES is holding up quite nicely. We're actually forming a bullish wedge, and this does look a little bit more bullish. We could attempt to go a little bit higher for just around 6,900, but the problem is we need to break 6,900 to be bullish, okay? If we fail around 6,900, we can't break this, then there's going to be a risk of us rejecting and turning back down to form that left shoulder hand and that right shoulder right over here, back into like the 6,700s. So watch that very closely. For NQ, we basically have this left shoulder ahead, and then a right shoulder could be forming, but we're going to see if we get a rejection. I still think ES and NQ could be a little bit more bullish. We could go a little bit higher. 25,800 is possible. It's just a tiny bit higher than where we currently are. And then, we're going to see if we reject off that. This is where we rejected many times on NQ. 25,800. Do we consolidate here and then reject? I'll be watching that very closely. Bitcoin has a double bottom, and we're going to see if we lose 90,000 or not. It might dip back down to 90,000 from here. Tesla's trying to push, which is great, but notice that we're still technically range bound. Near 425-ish, we like to bounce. Near 435, we're kind of like rejecting. So I just see Tesla trading sideways for now, unless we break and hold 435 to break out, or if we reject here, we're still going to likely trade sideways. And we'll see if Tesla rejects, because there's still that gap down at 393 to fill in case we turn down. I think we push for 435, turn back down to 425, and just consolidate. And then we're going to see if we get a rejection. Nvda pumped quite a bit. It's currently at 182, but we're going to see if it turns back down towards 180. So far, it's showing some signs of rejection. Appl pumped quite a bit, but there's tough resistance at 285-ish. We're going to see if 285 holds. If not, we could be dipping back down to 282 and 280. On AMD, as you can tell, we're consolidating. We have resistance around 218, support down here at 214. We're going to see if we get a rejection. Coinbase is also consolidating, could be coming back down to fill the gap at 265. Amazon is making a lower higher, could be dipping to 231. Meta could also be dipping back down towards 638. And then Google could also be dipping towards 312. Microsoft is rejecting, could be dipping back down towards like 475. So it looks like tech is starting to slow down a little bit, and the VIX might bounce back up towards 17.65. So we're going to see if we get a rejection in tech, or if we're about to turn down. So overall, watch these levels very closely, and we're going to see if we get some kind of rejection or not. So watch your levels. Is it possible the market's about to get a pullback? SPY so far is showing, I think we just started to sell off a little bit, like as I was speaking, something may have come out. But once again, we're still in these ranges until we truly break structure. So be very careful. And also keep in mind we have data coming out. So regardless of what we're doing right now, we have to wait and see what happens once all this data is released 15 and 30 minutes after the stock market opens. All right, so get ready for all the data that's coming out. We're going to see if the market gets some kind of rejection, expect some volatility. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for listening and peace out.